Hey there. Welcome back to the Boundless Sovereign. And we are going through the book, the Tao Te Ching, chapter by chapter, minute by minute, and dissecting this for all you fine folks out there. So welcome. We're in chapter 16, Return to the Root, which sounds simple, but maybe not so much. But here it is. Attain utmost emptiness, purest calm. The myriad things arise. I watch their return. Each thing in the world's profusion, returning to its root. Its true life destiny. The return to root is calm. The return to destiny is constancy. With constancy, there is light. Without constancy, delusions and calamity arise. Constancy is acceptance. Tongue-tied here. Acceptance is to be noble, to be whole, one with heaven and nature, with the enduring Tao. With no self, there is no harm. And as usual, we'll jump into the River Master's commentary from the John Minford version here of the Tao Te Ching. From clarity and calm within, from utmost emptiness and simplicity, I watch the myriad things. Return to their root. The root is soft and pliant. To return to life destiny is to walk constantly in the Tao, in the light, in the calm. Without the constancy of the Tao, all manner of misfortunes arise, and spirit suffers. The constancy of the Tao is an all-embracing acceptance. It is to abandon emotion and to forget desire. To be noble and whole. It is to be connected with all under heaven, to be lasting, to endure, to be no longer vulnerable to harm. So, I'm not sure if you guys have picked up on this yet. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But this is every chapter, and I'm doing a lot of these chapters kind of in a flow here, right? So I'm doing several chapters at once. So So I have the perspective, and maybe I'll share this with you if you're not listening to these all at once. Is that it seems like this book is always spiraling, I guess might be a better way to say it. This whole idea of existence being in this sense of beingness, being this empty perspective, right? This empty awareness that's just in the state of pure awareness, not focused on external this or that, right? In that, so without the constancy of the Tao, all manner of misfortunes arise. Like, it's so true. If you get into an emotional spiral, negative spiral, where you get lost in the experience of something, and it's coming to mind is I had an incident at one point. I was a leader in a facility, and I got into an argument with another leader. We were co-equals, so one of us couldn't tell the other what to do, which is always a challenging circumstance to find yourself in. And he had one perspective, I had a different one, and I let myself get emotional about it. He got angry, I got angry. We started yelling at each other, and we were yelling at each other in front of somebody who was lower in rank, right? So really a big no-no if you're a leader. You're not supposed to show that kind of craziness in front of people that you're supposed to set the example for. And so I was really embarrassed, and it was a tough day, man. It was super tough, but let my emotions really get the best of me. And I remember that day actually was one of the last times I ever lost my temper, really lost my temper, and just let myself get wrapped up in the heat of the moment. And I swore to myself on that day, I said I would never let myself get like that again. I was never going to let somebody hijack my emotions. I was going to let an external circumstance take control of me. I was just never going to allow that. So from that point forward, I had committed to having emotional control. And what that boils down to, and I mentioned this in the last video, it's this sense of like being able to step back into the present moment, even while the emotions are occurring. And this is the hardest part. If you can detach your awareness from the emotional spike that you're experiencing in the moment, and again, it's not easy, but if you can get yourself to do that, you can step back and you can watch the emotion. You can actually be witness to the emotion as opposed to being in the emotion or being part of it or being subject to it. So when you're able to do that, you can step back and you can start to ask yourself questions or ask the emotion questions. This is another interesting thing you can do. You can say, hey, what in this moment is causing me to feel this way? Or why am I angry? Why do I feel upset? Why am I frustrated? And if you can get to a point where you're detached from the emotion, you can start asking it questions. And I want to make a point here is that you don't want to get to a point where you're actually suppressing the emotion. I used to do this when I was younger, especially when I was like first having kids and just not super happy with where my life was at, is that I would have an emotion, and instead of feeling it or trying to understand it, I would just push it away. I would say, I'm not going to feel this emotion. This emotion's not valid. And what you do by doing that is you create trauma in your body, and you create these energetic blocks in you that later on will come to haunt you, especially if they're really strong. If you have a really strong energetic block that you haven't dealt with, that's sitting in your body somewhere, it can spike up in all kinds of crazy situations, and you cannot even know where it's coming from. Something that your subconscious mind is picking up on that's happening might trigger this negative emotion. You might start to feel it, and you won't even know why, especially if it's deep seated. Something emotional and something that's maybe from childhood or earlier, or teenagerhood, right? During those periods, there's people go through lots of trauma and stuff. Even in adulthood, there's still deep seated trauma and stuff that can happen. But if you don't deal with those things and you push the emotions down, you will have that happen. And also, and this is a belief I have, a lot of spiritual folks believe that this is true as well, is that when you have actual disease of the body, a lot of it has to do with trauma and emotions that have not been processed thoroughly enough, and so they live in the body and they create tension and they create this dis-ease, right? This holding on, and I believe that's absolutely true. And negative emotions, if not dealt with properly, can have devastating effects on not only like your physical health. It can also have to do with your emotional health, your relationships, everything. Every aspect of your life can be really not in a good place based on not dealing with the emotions. So when you're in the moment and you have this emotional response, the key is to not let yourself go with the emotion or suppress it, but just to observe it. And then if you can get yourself in a clear enough space where you can actually start to ask it questions and start to understand why you're having the emotion. And then when you get to the why under the why, which is like, okay, why is the emotion happening? Okay, why is that why happening? And if you can get deep enough, you can get to the root of what that emotion is about. And you may find that it actually has nothing to do with the situation you're in currently, and that it has something to do with something that happened to you a long time ago, or some sort of belief you've developed along the way about you're either not enough, or or people questioning, whatever it is, right? I could tell you I've had a litany of different emotional issues that I've had to work through and deal with. I think I've dealt with most of them at this point, but I may still have a few lingering. I do actively look for those little potholes in my energetic field, and I want to understand and heal those ultimately. So, but if you don't deal with the emotional trauma of your life, you're going to find, as I talked about in previous videos, these recurring loops that happen in your life, and you're not going to even realize they're happening because you're emotionally looping, and it's creating those same circumstances over and over and over again in your life. So, yeah. So chapter 16, Return to the Root, it is all about getting back to this place of center, of peace, of presence, of the Tao, right? So that's the key. It's the key to all of it. Everything we're talking about has to do with getting back to that center. If this episode resonated with you, please like and subscribe. This has been a whole lot of fun for me to do. Again, this is the Boundless Sovereign YouTube channel. It's all about holding up the mirror for folks so they can recognize the truth in themselves and realize that they are sovereign beings and that they have incredible potential, and that we want to help them realize that. So that's it for chapter 16. We'll see you all in chapter 17 of the Tao Te Ching.